When you're at sea, it's busy. So you're responsible for keeping your watches. So they are 4 hours at a time. And generally the routine runs where you will have 2 of those in a 24-hour period. So you have 8 hours that you're responsible for the safety of the ship at sea. Outside of that, you have some other roles you need to conduct, a lot of admin and looking after your division of sailors, and you're working around the clock, but you try and get a good few hours sleep in. But it's not, as an MO, it's pretty full on when you're at sea.
Doesn't differ too much on a submarine. We tend to run a similar sort of routine, except for, as I said before, it's 6 hours on, 6 hours off. So during that 6 hours you might be on watch doing some navigation, we might be doing an exercise. There's plenty of different things that sort of occur in that 6 hours. And then in your 6 hours off, that's when you can have some downtime, get some sleep, have a meal, have a shower, read a book. So you still get the off time as well.
What about as an electronics engineer?
Very, very similar to what Tia's doing there. 6 hours on, 6 hours off. The only difference is, well, it can differ subtly in what we do in our 6 hours off. I'll be doing some engineering admin or looking after engineering sailors as opposed to executive sailors. And we're all trying to get a shower in, get a little bit of exercise to stay sane and make sure we get some quality sleep.
The best part of my job, and I've been lucky enough to drive a ship that can achieve 30 knots, which is quite quick for a ship. Okay. The best part of my job is throwing that around at max speed. That's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yep. When you're pushing that much steel through the ocean at that much speed, it's good. Yeah.
I suppose another part of it is the travel opportunities that we get. Being able to go to different port visits, do postings overseas. There's always opportunities to travel, so that's probably one of the highlights.
Next year, myself and my wife moved to France for 3 years, so we're going to assist in the Future Submarine program in France for 3 years. That'll be exciting. Got to learn some French first, and really brush up on that. But yeah, that's a good opportunity. Probably the thing that I would say throughout my career that I think I've most enjoyed is being able to watch some of the people in your team grow and get more experience, get more knowledgeable, and then watching them teach other people is quite cool.
For us, we all do the similar course when we join. We go to the Naval College and we learn how to officer. And then moving on from there, that's when we differ. So Tia and I, we went off to do the Maritime Warfare Officers course, which is over 4 phases. And culminates with getting your Bridge of Warfare certificate. So in terms of our training, it's varied. You go up north, you are on a small, like a patrol boat or another minor war vessel, learning how to do your initial navigation, and you come back and you put that in the simulator where I have the honor of working, and learning how to conduct a warfare watch, and then you take that to sea in a frigate.
Our initial Maritime Warfare Officer training is exactly the same. We go through HMAS Coast Guard, do our training, as Josh said, and then we go right up until we get our Bridge Warfare certificate, and that's when I then split off and I went off and specialised in submarines. From leaving the bridge sim and doing your consolidation there, you go off and you go to the submarine school, and that's when you commence on the path as a submariner. So initially it's all exactly the same, and that way then submariners know exactly what's happening on the surface ships as well.
So after my degree in military studies at ADFA, I did 6 months worth of training to apply those engineering skills in the Navy context and how to have input in Navy processes. And then I went and spent 2 years on a surface ship. That was where I really had those, I suppose, everything that I'd learned in that 6 months of shore training put to the test. Got the opportunity to do a lot of ancillary things by choice. Spent some additional time on that surface ship, gaining more and more engineering qualifications the whole time. And then I suppose Tia and I get some commonality there. After she's finished her Maritime Warfare Officer training to a certain level, you have the option to go to the submarine school. And when I was at that certain level as well in engineering, that's when I elected to go to the submarine school.
Absolutely. So the Navy is great. You have opportunities to branch into all different areas. In the MO stream, you can be a principal warfare officer focusing in the air environment. You can be a principal warfare officer in the surface environment. Be a submariner. You can be a hydrographer. You can be a MET. So you can. Oh, sorry, MET being a meteorologist. So what you can do is you can stream in that direction, and then from there you continue to progress up the chain, you get promoted. The opportunities really are endless.
Not only specialising, you can also gain additional educational qualifications. So at the moment I'm starting to look at studying my Masters. So I did a Bachelor obviously through ADFA, and now I'm looking to go on to the next step of my education. So there's always avenues to further develop your knowledge in different areas.
In any profession like that, I think it's important to maintain continual professional development, a little bit like you would if you were working for anybody else. I've started my Masters in Systems Engineering, and I've chose to sort of specialise some of those little subjects based on things that I've found in submarines that have interested me. I'm looking at reliability engineering now as something that I would have never looked at when I'd finished my undergraduate degree. I didn't think that's where I'd specialise, but now I'm loving that. And there's certainly follow-on postings and jobs in the Navy that where that would be really useful.
For us, it's really not too bad. We can send emails. There are some times where we can make phone calls. It all depends on what we're doing and where we are and what the requirements are in terms of how we communicate from home. But for the most part, on a surface fleet, we're very well connected.
Submarines are a little bit more restricted. We have what we call familygrams, so that's where our families can send messages to a system ashore, and then that'll get transferred to the ship, or to the boat I should say, and we can send them back. It really depends on where we are, what we're doing, as to the frequency of those.
We have to put a lot more emphasis on setting things up before we go away, because quite often there won't be an opportunity to send anything back from the submarine. You get information in, and just by the sheer nature of what a submarine does and its purpose of being covert, no transmissions out of the submarine often for extended periods of time. So we have a lot of emphasis on shore support for the families and making sure that they're as informed as they can be.